Hello, and you're listening to Radio Clint City. I'm Dan, also known as Itzzwan, and joining me today, returning from last episode, we have got Miss Abigail Wyatt.
Hello again.
And also Kevin.
Guys.
As mentioned in the last episode, I was going to try and get an interview with Mr. Dark, not Mr. Dark, that's a card. I was going to try and get an interview with Mr. Cold, but unfortunately, he was a bit busy, so we don't get to hear from him. But to make up for that, we've got a very, very, very special guest for this episode, and I'm talking about none other than ChaosDragon88.
Hello everyone, nice to be here.
So coming back to the topic of Mr. Cold, well, we finally got an update on what he sort of hinted at within the past couple of weeks, because on the homepage of Urban Rifles, we finally got a big announcement, and of course, I'm talking about the shift. So for those who don't know what the shift is, basically this is a new thematic kind of thing which Urban Rifles are now running, and what they're going to be doing every here and there is taking some old and neglected cards, and actually, for maybe like a few days, maybe a week or so, they're actually going to be boosting them, so both their stats and potentially even their abilities are going to be tweaked so that they'll become playable in particular modes. So, of course, with the shift being focusing on neglected cards, it's mostly old and rarely used cards which we're going to be seeing updated, and these changes will only be temporary, so it's not like these cards will necessarily be permanently buffed, and I'll put that with a little asterisk because we're actually going to come back to that. And also, to prevent, any sort of anomalies within the markets from the shift, they've also decided that for these cards which have been sort of boosted, the market for that card will be completely shut, so you can't all of a sudden start selling these boosted cards for a ridiculous amount of clints, which I think is, a very, very smart thing for them to do. And the first shift, which we can expect to see, will be taking place on July the 10th, so honestly, I'm really excited to see how that's going to go down, what's going to happen, and just sort of like the general reception and how everything's going to go regarding the shift.
So yeah, I'm pretty excited about the shift as well. It's a nice opportunity for old cards to shine once more or shine for the first time. So yeah, I'm very curious to see what their perception is about making card playable in certain modes. I think it's a very fun concept, and I can't wait till the 10th of July to see how they will address the old cards.
I know this is something which, of course, we've touched upon in previous episodes, but what sort of cards are we expecting or sort of hoping will be buffed in this first shift? Like, which cards do you hope are going to be given this new bit of life?
I did have one thing, and I could be completely wrong because usually when I try to speculate on anything, it is wrong. But everyone's going on about, who's going to be affected. The fact that there has to be a reason why they put 2 Sentinel in the banner for the news. And I'm thinking maybe there's going to be a focus on older Sentinel cards.
I'd say that's quite likely, definitely. I mean, because it's me, first card which came to mind where I was like, come on, let's buff it, would be said drone. But because he's not completely useless, I don't think he's one which the guys would go for. There are probably other cards which have far more of a priority. One example, and we've mentioned him very much in the past, would actually be Robin. Like, I think he could be a good fit for it.
I reckon Robin should, he should be one of the cards, but I noticed they've put Melvin in the banner, and I personally wouldn't change Melvin, because I think he's a pretty solid card for what he is. I don't know what the more competitive amongst you think about him.
Melvin would never be changed.
No, Melvin's already quite a strong card as is, so I don't think he's one which would qualify for it.
I hope the 7 Junks card and they redo the BP boost.
That'd be quite interesting, actually.
It would be just very nice that they say, okay, we did a prank battle point boost. Now we're gonna do the shift and do it all over again, but now actually the cards are usable.
If I can say my opinion very quickly, if I have to say which cards are gonna be chosen, I would probably bet on cards that got rework on the illustration in the past months. For example, for Ulua to like Mech N or Korai, because I think it would be a nice moment also not only for certain cards to shine, but also for certain illustration to shine.
I think the one which most people are pointing fingers towards is Slatar, because recently his artwork got updated, and he's only, a 3/8 for the uppers, so he would fit perfectly within the mould of a card which would constitute towards the shift. Like, do you think this is one which we're going to be seeing boosted, or is that maybe a tiny bit too obvious?
I think he's definitely gonna get...
Yeah, I think Slater would be nice. It would be a little bit too obvious now, but I think he can be boosted around the power of Jeeves.
Well, Jeeves is a 5-star and Zlatar a 4, so I kind of expect him to be a less broken JKCR. Something like 6/6 stoppability or 7/6 condition stoppability, like courage or most likely confidence, something on that line.
You just make it a 10-10, win the game.
And about the shift in general, I think it's base idea. It's a reprise of the thematic weekend we did with the leadership. So the difference that this time, instead of modifying the ability of some leaders for a weekend, they will modify the stats of certain cards for entire weeks. I think I could probably expect 1 or 2 cards per each clan. So I think it will be a nice number of changes. And I think it's also why they are getting, they announced it with a couple of weeks in advance, so that they will have a lot of time to test things and be sure they won't be too broken.
What I would like to see as well is just that they would rework the cards which were in the starter packs, like around 2009, 2010. We know we all started with cards like Geisling, Nina, Ben, Warren. So it would be fun to see cards like those rebooted for an event like this.
I was browsing the comments of the players in the forum, the Italian ones in particular, and there were quite a big number of them saying that if you modify the stats or the ability of an old card, it's not the same card, it's something else. And this is the main reason why they don't like it, even if it's just a temporary change.
In the Dutch community, we got mixed reaction as well on that, because the old cards, how terrible they are, they're still part of the history of the game. And it's nice to show, we started like this. We started with a 5/3 potion 1, minimum 1 guys card. And now we evolved to No Love. It's kind of fun to see how far card creation has become from that point. But yeah, I am pretty much devil's advocate for that. I actually really like the shift, and that I would also kind of dig it if the card got a permanent rework.
I mean, searching back on what all of you have said, one, I do have to say, it does look like the staff have really been taking their time with the shift, making sure that it's as best executed as possible, so I appreciate that. As for those who are sort of saying, oh no, they shouldn't add all these changes to these old cards, I don't think what we're going to be seeing is a massive overhaul to all these old cards, especially those cards which we have in our past, which sort of are legendary and have a bit of history towards them. I don't think they'd ever get touched. So cards like Bob Joby, Nobosai Bricks, I don't think those cards will ever get fully buffed, just because, those cards are sort of historic for being that bad, so it would be completely sacrilegious for them to change that.
But still, I would like them being buffed, because especially the Nobro Seabrit mission, I think it's win 4 rounds with Nobo Seabrit. Your sanity will drain faster than I can't even think of a good analogy, but just your sanity will drain.
You should have played it during the leader shift with Amber, that had the ability +7 power, max 8 to your cards in courage.
Yeah, but no.
Yeah, you could have done that, or, just do that mission with a guildmate in the guild room, and then you can get it done quite easily. So there are ways around that. But I don't know, I think there are some cards which just certainly should never get touched, and they should sort of remain how they are just for history's sake. Don't get me wrong, I'm not objected to any cards being changed, because there are some where I'm like, yes, please. But there are certain where I'm like, okay, please don't touch them. So again, I'm sort of 50-50 with that. And of course, there's only one other thing which we've not touched upon regarding the shift, and that's that after the shift, there's actually going to be a survey where players will get to choose whether the changes which occurred in the shift will become permanent for that card. So, yeah, you can decide that. And I think also with that, if a card does become permanent with its changes, then there'll be a complete market reset for that card, so cool. But what did you guys think about this survey approach and the fact that now we will actually potentially see permanent changes and not just, a temporary thing for the shift?
Personally, would like it, but from what I've seen in the reactions on the different communities, I think it ain't gonna happen. So I think it's gonna be a pipe dream.
I mean, I think it'll be interesting. I'm kind of hoping that people would take those surveys quite seriously and think, oh yeah, this is a card which I definitely want in the game. And people won't just be like, yes, buff it, just buffing it for buffing's sake. Like, if a card is quite good and could certainly fit into the game, it would be good if those changes were for definite. But again, I think it just depends on sort of what the changes were, the cards, and then you just kind of have to hope that the community are doing sort of things for the greater good and not for selfish gains, I guess. But the shift was not the only sort of big-ish update which we saw in Urban Rifles, and that's because even though we got the new season of EFC and a whole load of updates with that, the start of this week we also got some more EFC updates, and perhaps the biggest one which we got is that votes for what cards are going to be banned in zones and all that are actually going to be coming back. The only restriction is that the voting is only going to be accessible for players who reach said palace, which I don't know what you guys think about, but I think that's, fair enough.
I think you can say that people who play UFC the most and are top ranked in the mode can judge the meta the best and can really correctly analyze which cards are too strong or which clans are not strong enough or too strong to play at the moment.
Yeah, so I think it's good that they're doing that, and then it'll avoid players potentially just being like, oh, I spent so many clints on this one overpowered card, I'm going to use all my votes to make sure that it stays. Like, I don't think that's something which will happen, so it's a system which hopefully should not be abused and should do what it is intended to do, which is quite good.
Something that I am excited or to see is how they will handle not just how to ban certain cards, but also how to restore cards that are already banned. For example, let's suppose they asking to the players which of the cards you played this season you would like to ban. It's something relatively easy to do, but asking them if there are cards that you would like to unban, that's something much more difficult. The data on the subject will not be so easily acquirable. I'm intrigued to see how they will solve, how they will do the thing in the details.
As for the actual updates which we got within EFC, I gotta say, I was quite fond of them, but there weren't too many of them, so I'll just roll them off right now. Added to the ban list was Regan, one of the quite recent cards which we got, the Nightmare, I believe it was. I didn't get to play too much with that card, so I don't know whether that was a good or bad thing, but if they've been banned, I assume it's a good thing.
That card was stupidly powerful.
I think it's not a card that is stupidly powerful on its own, but it's one of those cards that become stupidly powerful inside their own clan. Because first of all, Nightmare is one of the clans that can easily deal a lot of life gap, even with cards that are 2 or 3 stars. I can think of Christopher, Pan. So adding a card that manages to life from the opponent on a defeat round kind of guarantee to the player that he can just win 2 rounds, even with cards 3 stars, and get the match. I think that it's extremely powerful in his own clan, and probably the ban is very justified. But if one day there will be events with a format like Type 1, Regan will be a very nice card to play, not too broken in an environment like that, but she definitely is a bit too powerful for.
I think the problem with Regan is it's a very versatile card. I mean, yes, if you lose, you're fine with it, but you're also pretty fine if she wins, obviously. And it's not that hard, especially combined with the bonus, to win rounds with Regan. So
It's a kind of a win-win card. For example, if you
yes,
put
I mean,
this kind of card in another clan that doesn't manage to make a very large life gap, I
Yeah.
don't think it would be as dangerous as it is in Nightmare.
yeah, and I think if you put it in Piranhas, it would have the same problem. But
Probably, I don't know, because the bonus is the same. Piranhas like to play on. But we have a card that is similar in a way. That is the legendary card of Piranhas, Bonnie, with the latest change. It's a victory or defeat card. If I'm not mistaken, it's played quite a bit. So yeah, Regan would be quite strong there. Like if, for example, like for absurd reasons, Regan would be in Junks or Sentinel, even if it's completely different, the kind of style of the card. I don't think it would be as broken as it is in Nightmare.
it would definitely fit more in Junks, although with the Junks bonus it's also pretty easy to win rounds. But yeah, because they have like not that much damage, you definitely need to win 3 rounds. So you gotta keep it as
Yeah,
an old
but
card.
in the end, we can agree that inside the Nightmare clan is too strong for EFC. Of that, I think we can agree.
So yeah, there we go. Of course, Regan, the card which was added to the ban list, and from all that, just sound like they did a good thing. For these updates, there wasn't any cards which were actually taken off the ban list, which was quite interesting. But the other changes which we did see is that there was a new semi-evo added, and this one was for Asgroth, so he is a card which typically is a 8/4 with the ability -2 power minimum 6. And he had been changed so that his 2-star form and 3-star form are now 8/2 and then with the ability, and then 8/3 with the ability. And I gotta say, I'm already a big fan of his semi-evo, purely more just because I never thought he was the best 4-star, so it's nice to see that he's actually usable for his different levels. But as for whether he will actually get heavily used, I'm not entirely too sure, and I don't know quite how this will fit into the game and EFC.
Just as a 2-star guard, it's an 8/2 with that ability. It's a very solid round winner. For a 2-star, you don't mind 2 damage. As for a 4-star, you do mind only 4 damage. So I think the card improves massively with the semi-evolution, and it's just a solid round winner. So I guess that's all to say about it. It's just making a guard very playable in EFC right now.
I like it, but at the same time, I'm not entirely sure it will be so powerful. Because right now, if I have to play Nightmare, I would probably choose Buff for a Legendary first and Crow and Semi-Evo second for a spot as a 2-star cards. But like I said before, I like to play Nightmare more for a hit-and-miss strategy with a lot of damage. But of course, Itzzwan right now is extremely playable and gives to the clan a wall card that so far they did have only as a 5-star, talking about Madabook. They didn't really have a strong round winner with only 2 stars. It's something that you would likely see on Piranhas and not in Nightmare. So it could be played, it's definitely playable, but I'm not sure it would be like the first card the players will put in their deck.
My problem with, you said Bappo, and my problem with Bappo is the high minimum on the damage reduction. And it's kind of the same purpose, a round winner, but I think for a round winner, it's more optimal if the opposing card gets dragged below your own card's power than just equalize it. So that's why I would prefer Asgroth over Bappo.
I think thing is, right now there are a ton of cards that have defeat abilities, and most of the time you may win a round with the 2 cards that has 2 base damage, and in the end either do nothing or even be in disadvantage of pills and maybe even life after the round, while Bappo forces the opponent to play pills, because otherwise 4 damages for a 2-star, it's really, really... Yeah, they are different cards. Bappo is not at all a wall, it's a control card. Nightmare don't really have wall cards 2-star, so this is... you maybe have a Gorgon, But again,
Yeah.
Gorgon forces you to build the deck in a way that you can support his own ability. While Crowan is more like a card you want to win the round with to make gap. So a wall is something they didn't really have until now. And so yeah, it's a welcome change because it brings something new. But we will see if it will be.
I think what speaks in favor of Asgroth in comparison with Bappo is that Asgroth is more resilient versus the upcoming amount of cancel power modification cards. If you get hit by that, you still have an 8 power card. So
Yeah, but
I like that more than if Bappo faces a card like that, it gets shut down completely, and that's not really.
But at the
optimal.
same time, I could say that there are a lot of exchange power cards that could come, and Buffo is a very, very nice counter to exchange power abilities.
Yeah. I know there's something to say for both, but yeah, I think at the moment my pick would be Asgroth 2-star over Bappo.
So, Asgroth with the semi-UFO, it's one which just seemed like could definitely be a good wall, and compared to the other somewhat recent semi-UFO which Nightmare did get, which was Glog, it's nice that we've got like a semi-UFO 2-star, but of course Glog is more a defensive card, whereas Asgroth is a tiny bit more offensive. But it's one which definitely I'm just gonna experiment with, try around, just because now that he's usable in other means, I might actually use him rather than always getting substituted for other 4-stars in the clan. The other couple of changes which we got was that Robert Cobb was nerfed, so instead of having 8 damage, he now has 7 damage, which I think it's fair enough, can't really complain with that.
I was saying I looked at Robert Cobb's stats a very long time, and I'm pretty sure that in recent months he was the most playable leader, the most played leader in Survivor, but at the same time one of the least played in EFC. So he had like this middle ground where if you touch him and make him stronger, it would be nice for EFC, but at the same time, if you make him weaker, it would better for Survivor because he is extremely played. So they decided to nerf him, I think, mostly for Survivor. I think it will drop even more in EFC. I think in the future we could see because there was a split of leaders, like a certain set that was rebalanced for Survivor and a certain set that was rebalanced for FC. I think we could see another leader that right now is in Survivor that will be put as an FC one, like for example Hugo. That's my guess about this change.
But even though he has been changed, he's still more than usable because isn't he still like an 8-7 at the end of the day, which is still pretty damn good stats, and his ability is more of a thing which makes him so desirable. So I don't think these changes will necessarily impact things all that much.
Oh, I think it's completely irrelevant.
Cool. What is slightly more relevant, though, is actually the LD changes which we got, and 2 LDs have been updated. First one is Gale LD, and her ability has now been changed, so previously she was degrowth plus 1 damage, now she's equalizer minus 1 life, and because I'm more of a DT player, not a good DT player, but that's more the game mode which I pertain towards, I really love this, and I think she's going to be amazing in Type 2 and just a card which will always be in Type 2 upper decks. And then the other change for LDs was Wilo, and the main update for them is that their ability now actually finally has a name. So instead of it being Dope plus Regen, it's now just been renamed as Repair, which I think is nice, and it just makes things a whole lot more convenient, minus those who now have to remember what Repair actually means, but I think it's good that this has been done.
I think Gale LD is amazing, the update. She becomes way less predictable and also way stronger, as you said, in Daily Tournament Type 2. So I really like that change. In EFC, it doesn't really matter because you still gotta probably get paired up against most of the 3 or 4 stars, so she won't be really have a more impact in that mode. But in DT Type 2, it's an amazing card right now. She loses obviously some value in DT Type 1, but yeah, I would take her any day now in D2.
I think, but the close comparison we could do is Halgladius from the Hive, which has the same ability of the higher minimum, and the bonus that if you talk about EFC is slightly worse, the one of the Hive. And Halgladius wasn't really played a lot. Another one that has a similar ability is DZ-Vulture, and he as well wasn't really played a lot in EFC. Gale, however, is like the best of the three cards because the bonus of the upperts is overall the more powerful among the three, and it has the perfect minimum of 0 that bypasses damage reducers. And also, Gale doesn't really have a lot of competition for the 2-star spots in the clan because we have a Salzberg, a purely defeat card that he could maybe be banned one day. We don't know. But he is one of those cards that may come in and come out of the ban list. Then we have Dortok 6, but he as well is more of a DT-oriented card, a very aggressive one, and Gale will probably be better than him. And apart from these two, the others are a little bit outdated. So I'm curious to see if Gale will manage to remain with these stats, or if she will need a little nerf in the future. Maybe passing her to Equalizer +1 damage, or increasing the minimum from 0 to 1.
So of course, that was EFC and everything to do with the updates. And now, with it being sort of the second half of the podcast, we're gonna go more to the lighter subjects and more the community-focused stuff. And before all that, actually, we're gonna have a look at some of the comments which were left on the last podcast episode, just because, you know, I like doing so that's why we're doing it. So the first comment which stood out to me came from your fellow guildmate, Kevin, and this came from Itzzwan, and he said, Kevin sneakily adds Blackie into the list of cards that need a buff. Kevin sneakily calling Snowflake Bayflake. Both time no reaction, hard to crowd for the grinder. I did respond to this comment, but I have to say, I did hear him mentioning Blackie in the list of cards which needed a buff. I just didn't have my mic on, so that's why I didn't respond. But as for the Bayflake remark, I gotta say, I didn't hear that, and that did kind of slip me, so I guess congrats, Kevin.
Actually, I think the Blackie is a card that needs a nerf because it's too powerful.
Oh, is this where the Blackie debate starts?
No, this is just a topic for a whole other episode, probably just as long as the talk we had yesterday. So I'm not going into this again now.
Well, ladies and gents, if you want to hear Chaos and Kevin fight it out and debate about Blackie, let us know in the comments, and perhaps that'll happen next episode, I guess. And then the final comment which actually caught my interest came from the user Sergeant Grady, and he said Saga the admin also said the BP boost was a troll. And yeah, that is very true, because actually after I put up a post about the new episode being out, Saga did respond to that saying, "Love your podcast, thanks. That BP boost was my idea, I'm sorry. I wanted to troll everyone, so ... So yeah, Sergeant Grady, you're correct. It was just Saga, I guess, fucking around with the community and just being a bit of a troll, which, I don't know, like, I thought it was quite funny, but I guess there are some others who might not have been quite as keen on Saga doing this. I'm certainly not pointing my fingers towards anyone in particular here.
I'm not pointing fingers, heavily implying me.
Oh, sorry.
I did not like it, and I give him a lot of shit last episode, and I'm still 100% standing behind everything I said. So, fuck you with your fucking troll.
Again, if Kevin did somehow get demoted as moderator last episode, I'll be surprised if he still survives after this episode. But I don't know, I thought it was quite funny, but I guess, Abby, you can sort of be the middle person. Like, I thought, you know, being a troll is kind of okay, quite funny. Kevin, of course, wasn't quite for it. Abby, your opinions on the matter, like, were you for it, were you against it? What did you think?
I'm just going to stand by something I've always thought when it comes to this game. it doesn't matter what anyone does, there's going to be a load of people who are going to complain about it, and there's going to be a load of people who think it's okay. Personally, I just saw this and was just like, oh well, that's happened. So
But no, she is very right though. Like, no matter what you do, there'll always be people for it and people against it. So really, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter.
Like, for example, I release an awesome card like Blackie, and there is Kevin complaining.
Absolutely, go fuck yourself. Just
oh my
get off.
God.
Just go away. Go outside your room. Take your fucking clock with you, and just go away with your fucking Blackie.
All right, now I'm curious to know, like, if you had to choose a Mr. Clint City right now, who would it be?
Someone from this, like, that would be eligible.
Don't do this, Chaos.
Can't think off the top of my head. I honestly cannot think off the top of my head right now.
Yeah, I'm also trying to think, what proper hunks have been released as of late, and I'm sort of like, what men have there been who have been rather decent? I don't know.
Excuse me for not looking to the cards in that way, so I don't have an opinion.
But Chaos, you proposed the question, so surely you have someone in mind. Like, you can't just ask something without also having a question.
Of course, I would vote for my own card, that is Silvano.
Oh yeah,
Like,
I mean,
yeah.
he is an absolute. He's just, yeah.
He has an amazing body like myself, and I really identify myself in him.
Okay,
Even though I'm not that big, but yeah, I would definitely choose him.
Dude, to quote his reference from Monty Python's Meaning of Life, just get me a bucket. I love that. I love that card just for his reference. But when he got announced that like that was your actual name, and there was me saying, "Oh, it's the fat guy from the Monty Python movie," I was like,
actually,
"Shit, Chaos is never gonna want to speak to me again."
But actually, like,
You decide to repeat
it was a joke because at the very beginning it wasn't really supposed to be my card at all. Like you said, that was the reference, nothing else. Then we did like a first brainstorming to choose the name of the 4 cards for that New Blood release, and we said, how could we name him? And I was like, well, he's fat, he likes to eat. Let's call him Silvano. They laughed and said, yeah, let's do it. So that's really how he got my name. It's pretty much a similar story for the character Mimmo. Like, he's 100% based on John Travolta. But when he was released, it was also the latest week that Boschilla worked for us. And so we decided to name the card to him, Mimmo Boschilla. But it's something like we did it a couple days before its release, not something we had planned.
As a card. Art-wise, not bad either.
Who?
Mimo.
Ah, yes. Yeah, if you are a fan of his movies, it's definitely a very, very nice reference.
Well, back to the question. I've just been looking on iClints at all the cards that got released this year. Kevin's probably going to shoot me. I'm going to say Blackie.
Ah, Jack Black.
ChevinAFCA.
He's probably a
adorable
poser.
though. He's an adorable little Jack Black XP. And who I was going to say, given last year, who votes by stats anymore anyway?
I mean, I would actually like it because maybe the card gets decent when it gets a Mr. card.
So those were the comments which were left on the last podcast episode. But before we go, there's just something which we need to talk about, and it's something which I've personally been absolutely loving. And what I'm talking about is Urban Rivals has pretty much seen a new meme as of late. And for those who haven't been checking the spot recently, you really should have been, because there's just been some absolutely quality content being posted. And what I'm on about is that Peeps, and more so Peeps' sheep, actually became a tiny bit of a meme of sorts, and you got a whole load of players just making these really funny and creative edits, mostly centered around the sheep, but I was just loving it.
So, like, the thing is, like, it's not really so easy to find a meme. Like, for example, when Sida was released, the cars from Komboka, Like, I thought her level 1 was one of the more adorable cards of Urban Rivals. It's not the case, apparently.
Just look at the sheep. It's so fucking happy. Look how adorable it is. It's a pink sheep, which is too happy. It's awesome. 10 out of 10 meme material.
I kind of feel bad now because I did actually draw something involving Peeps and some fan character I made up on the spot, and I didn't end up drawing the sheep. I was more focused on Peeps herself.
Okay, that's just actually disappointing. You should not be allowed to draw Peeps without the sheep. You can draw the sheep only, but not Peeps without the sheep. That's just illegal at this point.
Yeah, for sure, but I just found it funny how it all started because both it was me and Kevin. We were looking at the spot on the day for New Blood's release, and of course we saw that classic post by Cookie Spirits, which was for "Who's that Pokemon?" And we both just saw this cute-looking sheep, and we were like, "Wait, what? Why? What does this mean? Like, why is this on my timeline?" And then we actually looked at the cards and we were like, "Oh, okay, that's where it came from." But just the start of it was a lot of confusion,
funny.
but a lot of amusement at the same time.
That was really funny. At first I was like, yeah, of course, it's Wooloo, but I never saw the level 1 art of Peep, so I didn't even know that sheep existed. And then he just showed the picture with the sheep, and I was like, where the hell's that sheep from? And it wasn't before the podcast of the previous week that was like, oh, there's the sheep from. So yeah, it was pretty funny. It did remind me of the Vine with who's that Pokemon? It's Pikachu!
It's Clefairy!
And then
Fuck!
it's Clefairy! Fuck! Yeah, just reminded me of that. It's pretty funny. It took me like a clean 4 days to realize that the sheep was actually in the art of Peeps. Not proud of that.
Fingers, I want to propose a suggestion, and it's something which I really, really, really hope actually becomes a thing. Because just like how TWLD became its own card after being featured in Kalindra's art, I'm really, really hoping that the sheep becomes an LD card as well. Like, if it doesn't, then I will be so upset just because I think the whole community would absolutely love that. So, personally, I have my fingers very firmly crossed that actually becomes a thing just because I would just absolutely love that.
I don't think that will happen because Tiwi fits into the clan with being half human, half Yeti. And Tiwi was obviously a Yeti. And what do you want to make of it? A sheep doll? There are some adults who would like a sheep doll.
But, it's already a toy by default if it's with, Peeps. So it's already a toy. So, why would it not? It would still work. Like, it would be weird if it wasn't anything but a toy with a toy, if you understand what I mean.
I think you can't get a connection with the actual Dominion clan, and that was a lot easier with Tiwi being a Yeti, and we know the clan was half Yeti, half human. And now we have just all the dolls, and suddenly, out of the fucking blue, or out of the pink, just which one you want, you get a sheep.
Yeah, but it's still a toy sheep at the end of the day, so why would it not be a thing? And I mean,
I think the other suggestion was better, where we have a leader with the sheep.
Yeah, Memento has officially been confirmed. It's just the sheep. That is Memento.
It's just a sheep, and you start with a happy pink sheep, and at level 5 it ends in a happy pink shawarma. That would be amazing.
Happy pink what? Sorry.
I think he's suggesting they turned it into food.
Shawarma.
Yes, I did.
No!
It starts as a pink sheep and it ends.
No!
And it ends at pink shawarma.
No, you can't do that. No.
Oh,
how dare you even suggest a thing?
Okay.
I
think I had an idea though.
As long as it's a better idea than Kevin's, go ahead.
It's not food, don't worry. You know how in like the other Dominion cards where they're on like steeds or something like that, and the steeds like turn into more bestial things or just like more real versions? I don't know why, but I could just I could just imagine like the sheep, and then in like its final form, it ends up looking like, oh god, I don't know its name. But you know, in the Avatar TV series,
Ah,
just that big bloody sheep yak thing that they all ride on.
Appa Yip Yip.
Yeah, something like that.
That would be pretty fun as well. Yeah. It fits more in the theme of Koboka because you have their 4 fractions being fire, earth, water, and air. So
Peeps
I
is
guess it would be more
Dominion.
like a
Peeps isn't
Koboka card.
Koboka.
No, but if you want to make the Appa type of card, Appa was the pet of the avatar. And I think with those elements, you would rather say it will be a Koboka card instead of a Dominion.
I
Not
think
go.
it would be nice if it was a revenge card from Skills in order to pair it with Blackie.
My god.
At this point, you're just actively trying to trigger me, and it works. So go fuck yourself and get the hell off. Getting pissed again.
Kevin.
You started.
This
Yes,
is-
I'm a 25-year-old saying he started.
I was gonna say that just
I don't
felt very
care.
primary school, just like, but he started it. It wasn't me.
I don't give a single shit.
Oof. But yeah, coming back to what that suggestion, like as soon as you said it, my mic was muted, but I did literally go, ooh, like I'm all for that. And you know, if we don't see Peeps Sheep as a Dominion, then that as like a Komboka, that'd be also really awesome. So Saga, I know you listen to this podcast. I hope you're taking notes, and if Peep Sheep is not an LD in any form or way, I'm gonna be very disappointed. So you better follow through. Like I'm now forcing you to make this card, so do it.
In any form or way, so shawarma counts as well.
No,
Oh
no, trauma. No, that doesn't count. Just a cute sheep toy or the whatever from Avatar. That's cool. Just don't make it food, please.
Oh, food. Also, Saga, because you will be listening, just give us the damn TF2 references already. We've got enough Overwatch. Just give us the TF2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just really, just really want to see them.
No, it's
Wait,
fine.
if I can ask something to Saga too, I would really love a card based on Kyle Guess in order to be played with Blackie.
My fucking god.
Don't,
He's just
don't.
actively trying to trigger me. And he knows it's working.
Okay, Kyle Guess can eat shawarma.
No. I mean, Carlgas as a whole, again, my mic was muted, but I cracked up at that. But no. Peeps is sheep is friends, not foods.
Something just really fast, if for anyone that is still listening, I will try to pop up from time to time in the podcast when I have time. So if you have like some question related to the story of some specific cards that you would like to know more about, leave it in the comments, and when it will be my turn again, I can try to give you some details about them.
Yeah, no, that would
Also, if you
that
want
would
to
be
see-
awesome. Oh, and Kevin, what were you gonna say?
Also, if you want to see a death battle between me and ChaosDragon about Blackie, also say it in the comments.
Oh my god.
Yes.
See, he auto-triggers himself, and he says that it's my fault.
Yeah, I mean, I was about to let this pass, but you triggered me so much this episode that now I want that death battle.
I think it's enough.
Let's continue.
Well, you say let's continue, but unfortunately, it's time for us to wrap up. So, once again, if you want to see Peeps Sheep as an LD card like me, and if you agree with my ideas, or anyone's ideas suggested, then feel free to leave them in the comments. Also, feel free to also bombard Saga's mentions and DMs and all that stuff. Just let's go make this card a thing. Also, if you want to see Chaos and Kevin scrap it out, then also leave a comment saying that, because that would be funny. And also, just feel free to leave just any comments in general regarding the podcast, what we've discussed, just anything, because like we did in this podcast episode, and the ones or before, we might respond to your comments, so just leave them. One thing I do need to just say is a massive, massive thank you to Chaos for taking the time out of his day to come chat to us. I really do appreciate it, and it was lovely hearing from you, and hopefully we can have you back on the podcast again, because I would personally love that. But thank you for joining us.
Thank you also for this, and yes, I will try to pop up whenever you want.
Yeah, awesome. And also a massive thank you for my other guests on the podcast this week. Of course, I'm talking about none other than Abigail Wyatt and Kevin. So thank you to you both.
It was a pleasure, as always.
It's been fun, as always, and hope to catch you again.
Yeah, and just in general, thank you for listening to this episode of Radio Clint City. I hope you enjoyed, and if you have any thoughts, opinions, or just if you just have anything to say in regards to this episode, then do leave those comments in the description down below. I make sure to read all of them, and I really enjoy reading all of them, so just leave them. And hopefully we'll see you tuned in next week for the next podcast episode. You've been listening to Radio Clint City, and until the next episode, thanks for listening, and goodbye.